Before we start, I'd like to mention that some of the language in all of our episodes may be interpreted as offensive. If you are easily offended, I would advise you to go and listen to another podcast. However, if you don't mind the occasional swear word or bad story, you're in for a treat. Enjoy the rest of the podcast. Welcome to episode 4 of the Average Person podcast. Today we are joined by a long-term friend of mine. It will be interesting as I know a lot about him already, but I'm sure there's lots of things in his work life and things that I never knew about him and that we never spoke about. Ryan grew up locally to me. He wasn't someone that I was especially close with as he was a year below me at school. But around, I think, 16 or 17, we just clicked. Now I regard him as one of my best friends and someone who's travelled the world with me really over the last decade. And that makes us sound really old. Yeah, he's always been someone that I found that frustrates me because he's never been able to sit still and focus on one thing at a time. He's always buzzing around and seemed like he's not putting his all into one thing rather than a little bit in here and there. So it will be interesting to find out why that is and how it's affected his choices in his career pathways. Ryan, did you want to introduce yourself? Welcome to the podcast.
How you doing, mate? You all right?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm not bad. And you said introduce yourself. Yeah, Ryan, long-term friend of James's. Interested to get myself on the podcast to see how it goes. I've listened to the others, pretty good so far. So hopefully we can be just the same and keep it going.
You don't want to be the best episode so far, no?
Well, we'll see. Everyone else is very interested in their own different ways. So hopefully this is just as interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. And before we get started talking about you growing up and your jobs, I wanted you to just have the opportunity to speak a little bit about what you're doing at the moment with all the running and stuff, because people have got you on social media, they see you running, but a lot of people don't really delve into why you're doing it. So if you just want to speak about what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, me and my cousin Emma, shout out to Emma Walker and shout out to Don Walker as well. We went running a lot in the morning before work, like getting up like 5:30, meeting up, doing 5-mile runs, started out, and then progressed to 6, 7, sort of 8-mile runs. And then you know what? She turned around to me, I think it was like January the 24th or something like that. It was only a couple of days till February. She was like, "Oh, let's go and run 100 miles for Feb." And I kind of thought, "Oh, all right, okay." Said yes to it, didn't think much of it. It got nearer the time, and I kind of rung her up and I says, "Do you know by 100 miles, did you mean 100 miles each or 100 miles between us?" Hoping she'd say between us, and she was like, no, we're doing 100 miles each. So we're raising money for Macmillan Cancer, who, when my nonna had cancer and that, they did an outstanding job. They were unbelievable how helpful, friendly, nice, went out their way to do things. So yeah, it's just nice to do something to pay a bit back to them, really. Just raise a bit of money for them. So far on about 1,300 quid. That's not bad from a £300 goal. So hopefully we keep it going. Feel free to donate.
Yeah, no, that's definitely great. I mean, there's a funny meme that's going around at the moment. It's like, I want whatever people that go jogging at 6 a.m. have. So what is it that gets you up to go that at that time? Because obviously now you've got a goal of 100 miles, but before that you were doing it for what reason?
You know what? You made me laugh there because you're probably the 4th, 5th person that's said that meme to me or sent it to me. And you know what? I'm not a morning person. I hate getting up in the morning. I wake up in the morning, my alarm's set at 7 o'clock and I snooze all the time. So like 7:15, I'm straight out the door. So I think getting up at that time and going for a run or something, it kind of set me up for the day. We all like to keep fit, I suppose. So that was just my way of keeping fit while the gyms are shut and that. So yeah, I like to keep it going. Hopefully I keep going all year round, to be fair. It's not a bad thing to do in the morning. I highly recommend it to people if you can be bothered, that is. But it's good. Get yourself out there.
I'm sure it's good for your mental health as well, running that time. And it's probably giving you extra incentive now to make sure that you don't hit that snooze button because of where the money's going and how important it is.
Yeah, I can't lie, mate. The mental health with the minute. I'm someone that's mentally strong, I like to think anyway. Like, not much ever really gets me down, but kind of just having the same repetitive days of, it's lockdown, wake up in the morning, think, the only thing I can do is work. It's nice to get up in the morning, go for a run, and then doing all different routes, like, let's go and hit a 6-mile route. And then we did one the other week. I think we said, we'll do 5 miles. was about 8 miles by the time we got back, and we just smashed it. And it's nice, like I say, different routes, different days, all sorts of weather. So yeah, I recommend it. Like it is very, very good for the mind.
Growing up as Ryan Hoult, what's that like?
Growing up as me was, I can't lie, I was brought up, I'd say very well by my mum.
Well, not
Anything.
well by your dad, or...
No, I'll get on to that a bit in a sec. But no, like, I think my dad was the kind of person that went out all the time, and he worked all the time to bring home, like, so I don't know, he brought home, as they say, he brought home the bacon, he brought home the money, sort of thing. So my mum worked, obviously, but my dad was always out and about here, there, and everywhere. So me and mum did a lot together growing up, and I probably spent more time with mum than I did my dad. So shout out to her, but also shout out to him for he was always there for me whenever I needed him, always looked after me in that. Never ever had a bad word to say about him. I love the bloke to bits, but it was just kind of, me and mum went everywhere together, did this, did that, and then like family holidays, me and mum and dad went abroad, went everywhere. I was the kind of kid that what Ryan wanted, Ryan got. So the brand new Xbox, I can have this, got it. Brand new PlayStation, got it. Everything, just spoiled kid to be fair. But no, growing up as me was I can't complain. I don't think anyone should really complain how they're brought up, obviously within reason. But yeah, we're all different, I suppose. So not going to complain.
You have a big family, I know, with all your cousins and people you've already mentioned so far. But you're actually an only child. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I've got a half brother. I think I've seen him twice in my life. Just family reasons, it didn't really work out for me knowing him and stuff. So it's a shame, because obviously I suppose we all like to have someone to look up to at times, and maybe in a different circumstances I might have had that person to look up to, but I just class myself as an only child basically. Having lots of cousins and that though, it's basically been surrounded by them my whole life. So if I ever need anything, just go and see one of them. Do go out with them all the time, you know, family events, seeing them all the time. But I was kind of that kid that when everyone was like, oh, I'm getting this, I'm getting that, it was always, oh, my cousin's got this, my cousin's got that. And everyone used to take the nick out of me, but it was, no, seriously, my cousin's got this and my cousin's got that. It was a case of that.
You had quite a big support network then. What's your mum and dad done for work when they were growing up?
My dad's a bricklayer by trade, so he's always been a bricklayer. So I think that's about as far as it went for him, apart from he used to live in a few pubs and run a few pubs. But even so, when he did them, he still run a construction business. Then my mum's always been in admin, as far as I believe, but I know she's worked plenty of jobs throughout her life to keep herself afloat and make sure she's had everything she's ever wanted, really.
So your dad is in construction, and now he kind of runs jobs. So, you know, lots of different trades, electricians, bricklayers, plumbers, carpet fitters, all of those things. So would you say your dad has been a big influence on you in regards to the jobs that you've had, or the first job you had?
Well, the way it started with me was kind of, school never interested me. So from like 15, whenever the opportunity there was to go to work instead of going to school, I always took it. So kind of when you're going through school and, I don't know, you hit 15, 16, going to last year. And when I was there, we kind of wasn't watched as well as probably kids are now. And by that, I mean is if you had like, you just used to say, oh, I'm going off having study leave and things like that. So I kind of used my study leave and just went to work and things like that. So at the age of like 15, I was like going to work. So lost all interest in school. Left school at 16. My dad gave me 60 quid, says go and buy some boots, you start work on Monday. And then that is literally it. I've done the same job pretty much my whole life. Don't get me wrong, worked for all different companies, but now work for myself and that, which we'll get onto later. I won't ever complain for that opportunity you gave me. It's been good.
So you get to 16 years old, you've just left school. What's your first job, and what was that like?
It was starting a plumbing apprenticeship with a man called James Beattie. Shout out to James Beattie. Always looked after me, did everything I ever helped me with everything I ever did. So it was tricky though. Left school, I started as a plumber, apprentice plumber. Started in Derby fitting central heating systems in council houses. Took me straight into the deep end. Was like, oh, here you go. Here's your tools. Crack on, get fitting radiators and things like this. Little Ryan, well, not little Ryan, big Ryan, age of 16, left school, started fitting radiators in council houses and boilers and things like that.
Just to backtrack a little bit, it's been kind of a 50-50 split with people that have come on so far. Some people, Robin was the last person that was on, and she was saying that you need to go there in person and make yourself known to them, and that's how you get jobs. Whereas other people have said, it's who you know. So how did you get that job? How did you meet James Beattie?
See, it's always a case for me of who you know, not what you know. Because James Beattie was like my dad's best friend's son. So he kind of turned around to him and said, look, I can't lie, I don't know what path probably would have gone down. I wanted to be like a joiner or something like that. But thinking back now, like, that would never have happened. I remember going around town with probably yourself and Dylan and a couple of others handing out CVs. But for me to work in a shop or something, I'd just be wasting away. It wasn't for me. So to get this opportunity to go forward as an apprentice, at first I used to think, I'm on 100, 120, £30 a week. I used to think, this is rubbish. My mates are on a bit more than me. They've got full-time jobs, blah, blah, blah. But then you look up and think, in the future, I'm going to be the one earning decent money, decent trades. So I'm just going to stick by it. And sticking by it is exactly what I did.
It's kind of the opposite mentality to a lot of people, right? Like when things are hard and things aren't working out and you constantly comparing yourself to other people, a lot of people just give in and quit and just almost like a sheep. And Robin spoke about that in the last episode as well, is that you end up copying and reflecting your friends and the people that you're around. But it sounds like you did the opposite to that, because some of your friends, they picked a job straight away and stuck with it, which was a little bit more money. But you saw the kind of the longevity of your job and in 5 years' time where you can be, as opposed to where you were at that moment in time.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know me very well. It was a case of I didn't know where I wanted to be, get handed an opportunity, see the outcome of it, and take it. Some of my friends, they went to college, did this at college. Some of my friends wasted a few years doing this, doing that, not really knowing what they wanted to do. I had no idea. So being presented with this opportunity, taking it, and then, like I say, just seeing the advantages of where it can lead to, where it can take me, what it's going to, basically just going to set me up for life. So I just took the opportunity when I could. He kind of put me on a probation for 6 weeks. I think I did about 4 or 5 days. And he says to me, you know what, the probation period, don't worry about it. You just basically just gave me a job straight away. And then from day one, he always used to say to me, he's like, you've got it in you to become good at what you do. Just stick by it, and then I'll teach you the ways. And from there on, working alongside him, plenty of apprentices came and went, and I was the one that was always stuck by him, and he always stuck by me. So, no, again, I can't complain for what I was given. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Opportunity came, took it.
Did you stay with him for a long time, or did you move to different places? It sounds like you stayed with him a decent amount of time.
I was with him for 2 years, and then something happened with the company that's not too sure to this day what really happened, contracts, and then it ended up being having to go find my own way sort of thing. So then I started working for other companies that sort of kind of offered me work or days here and there.
Yeah, I always find it funny, like when growing up, because, we're still classed as really growing up. I think, once you're going beyond 30, you're a bit of more of a wise adult, but in your 20s and your teens, you still learn a lot. But because you're starting out in a new career, you're going to make hundreds of mistakes. You're going to make daily mistakes, weekly mistakes, monthly mistakes. You're going to make some mistakes all the time. So how did you find it, people taking the piss out of you and laughing at you for the mistakes you were making? Because you would have been fresh on the job. I'm sure you had no idea what you were doing half the time.
Well, yeah, to be fair, I got called Screech. If you've ever seen Saved by the Bell, one of the characters, Screech. So that was it. That was my nickname for a long while, a long pod. Basically anything to do with being tall, because here's 6'3" apprentice Ryan. Everyone sees a tall lad, young lad, they're going to give you a bit of stick. But I can't lie, I didn't really get it that bad. I didn't really get much stick. I had a couple of like, I don't know, taking the piss out of each other here and there. But it wasn't too bad, to be fair. I don't know if it's just because everyone knew who my dad was or not, but I can never complain about not having the piss taken out of me. We had a couple of rough innings. I remember there was one job where we get there in the morning. It was probably about 7:30, 8 o'clock, and this lady's there. So we begin ripping out central heating. She makes a cup of tea, bacon sandwiches, all these sorts of things. It gets to about 1, 2 o'clock, and I think we've got a couple more hours left yet. So she was like, I'm going to work. So she left, went to work, and then this bloke come back, this lad. So she was in, I bet she was about mid-50s, and he was about 30 odd. So anyway, this lad turns around to us after about half an hour being home. He was like, "Oh, do you fancy a cup of tea, lads?" And I turned around to him, I was like, "Oh no, mate, don't worry about it. Your mum's just made us one." The bloke turned around to me, he looked absolutely gobsmacked, and he went, "That's not my mum, that's my missus, mate." So I've turned around and said this to him. This bloke he's quite a big lad, and there was quite an age difference between the two. I've just looked at him and I've gone, "Mate, I'm so sorry." He was raging, mate. He was raging. I've never worked so quick in my life to get out of the house. I was rushing around, cleaning up, getting out of the house, get the job done. A couple of days later, we get a phone call saying you got to nip back to such and such. Went back, the bloke had pulled the radiator off the wall. Went back, fixed it. A couple of days later, phone call, you need to nip back here again. The bloke pulled another radiator off the wall. So to this day, I don't understand how mad the guy got, but to say he pulled radiators off the wall, you must have been pretty mad at that comment.
Do you think your customer relations has improved since then?
Well, this was when we were on the council. So, I mean, it was a council tenant. And honestly, the age gap was quite big. So me thinking that it's his mum and turns out it's actually his missus, to this day, it still makes me laugh. But, oh, God, it was noticeable, put it this way. It didn't look quite right.
There's a lot of tradesmen out there, there's thousands of plumbers, thousands of electricians, thousands of builders. And yeah, you could almost say it's a saturated market, but with a saturated market, some people struggle to find any work, but it just seems like tradesmen always find a way to find work. So personally for you, how do you think as a plumber or a tradesman, you can separate yourself from everyone else? How can you stand out?
Recommendations are the biggest and best thing you can have as a tradesperson, especially going in with your own business. I can go on Google now and Google plumbers, and it'll come up with hundreds, thousands. If someone rings me up or if I ask someone and say, "Oh, James, do you know any plumbers?" and you turn around and say, "Yeah, I've got this plumber. He did a wicked job for me, rare." I'm going to take your word better than I'm going to take Google searches. There's nothing better than a recommendation, full stop.
Yeah, word of mouth does seem quite a strong thing, and I think you're quite active on Facebook, right? With I see a lot of people posting your name, posting your own name in pages. Do you find that a lot of those people that you do work for from Facebook, which would have initially been a stranger, are passing your name on to other people?
Yeah, definitely all the time. We get a phone call like, "Oh, such and such has sent me a number," and then half the time I'm thinking, I don't even know who these people are. And I'm like, yeah, no worries. We'll come and sort your job out. You get to the job, and they'll tell you like, "Oh yeah, the bloke from down the road gave me your number." I'm thinking, who is the bloke? And then all of a sudden it'll click, and I'll think, "Oh yeah, the bloke we did a job for a couple of weeks ago." And I've got no idea who these people are. One said to another, said to another, said to another, and the next minute you're working at this other address. But like I say, you can Google businesses, but for someone to say, "This guy did a job for me, good job," I like to think that all my recommendations are good. I get plenty of good reviews all the time. We do the job to the best standard we can. So going forward, hopefully the good recommendations come and we stay as busy as we are now for the rest of the time, really.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because near my house, I think it was the start of lockdown. It would have been March or February of 2020. Someone locally got their roof fixed. I don't know whether they got a brand new loft conversion, but they were doing everything on the house, and they ended up being there until 2021. So they've only kind of recently just left because they ended up doing like 3 or 4 other houses locally. So it's funny how one job with good word of mouth and kind of doing a good job can get you 1 year's worth of work.
Yeah, I mean, if I go and do a bathroom and fit it to a higher standard and post some pictures, and I post it on Facebook and somebody sees it, they're going to think, "Oh, I like that bathroom. I wonder if they can do mine like this." So then next minute they've gone, "Oh, I've seen your post, so can you come and have a look at mine because we kind of like that idea." Then they'll have their own sort of version of the bathroom you just fitted. And then it kind of stems from that. So like you say, someone's drove past seeing a roof being fitted. They like the look of the roof, like the look of the work. Next minute, they're reading you up, getting around. We want the roof doing. We like it to be like theirs. So it's kind of an effect that just carries on. So one after another, they like what they see, they want to put their own twist on it. People seeing your work through their own eyes well, it's not, I wouldn't say it's as good as a recommendation, but I wouldn't say it's far off being as good as a recommendation.
Yeah. So you're a plumber for 4 years, and you get to the point where you're 20 years old. And I remember a few times you'd message me saying you just seemed a little bit unsure, and you weren't maybe as happy as you previously were as being a plumber, and you kind of not at a loose end, that's the wrong word, but you're a bit unsure. So what kind of things were you feeling at 20 in regards to like maybe questioning a new career choice or something?
Well, I mean, another thing I wanted to do when I left school, I kind of think it was my last option. It was going to be join the army. I kind of sat down one day. I remember it was like September time, and I thought, do I carry on doing what I'm doing, or do I go and do something different? And it was a debate to go and join the army. I went and had a meeting on Chetwynd Barracks with a corporal or something along them lines, and kind of got the impression that it's something I probably might have liked to have done, but wasn't sure. I just want to do something that involved travel. So obviously we know Mitchell and a couple of our mates, they go abroad, went abroad with the army, rare. So it's kind of I want to go abroad, I want to go here, I want to go there. Knowing you then lived in America, coaching football, I remember me and you got chatting one time, and in fact, we got chatting on the Thursday, and I kind of says, well, that's a bit of me, that is. I remember having a phone call on the Friday with your ATSC, and on Sunday, next minute, I'm flying out to America to be a soccer coach. So everything I wanted, having the travel, being abroad, and experience something different, kind of came within the space of a couple of days. Going from wanting to go in the army to now I'm traveling to America to become a soccer coach. It was an absolute madness, but it worked out well.
I remember that happening so fast. It was like we were speaking on Facebook, and I was in the office at the time, and my boss was looking for 1 or 2 more people to come out, and they needed them now. And I said, I've got a friend that would come out, and he's like, can you get him here by Sunday? He was a Scouser, and he's like, can you get him back here by Sunday? And I'm like, I don't know. That's 3 days notice, John. I can ask him. So then I asked you, and you're like, oh, I'll ask my mum and see, I have to find my passport and stuff. And then Friday comes, and you're like, yeah, I'm ready to come. And then Saturday's your flight, and then you arrive on Sunday. It was a whirlwind. What was your kind of emotions when, you booked your flight, and when you're flying out, what things were you thinking?
It's America. Personally, I love it there. I've obviously been a couple of times since, and I'd never been before. So to be granted this opportunity to go for just under 3 months to work and to have a proper experience of what life is like over there, it was unbelievable. It was like, you've got me this opportunity. I don't want to let you down on, because your boss is kind of looking at you to say, we need someone. And you said, I can get someone now. I'm there like, well, I want to do this. So I said to my mum, I said, should I just go for it? And she kind of looked at me funny and thought, I was working for my dad at the time as a plumber, but I was also doing general building work, and I'd kind of had a bit of enough. Next minute, I've gone from digging footings, bit of plumbing in houses, to sat on a plane flying to America to coach kids football. Like a bit of a break / dream had come true. So no complaints from me ever on that one.
Yeah, things move very fast. See, obviously I was there to experience this. Like most of the people I've spoke to when I'm asking them about their jobs, obviously I'm not present, so I don't really know what the job's like. But from my perspective, you being on the job is obviously different to what it was like for you and your perspective. So trying to get a grasp of what your perspective was like. What was the experience like when you were actually working, aside from all the trips and stuff that you took? What was it like working and coaching kids there?
Well, I can't lie. You ran me through probably on the first day. I'd done some basic coaching before, but I remember getting there on the first day, on the Sunday, going to the office, getting kitted out. They were like, today, you obviously haven't got to have work today. You've just got here. Went Applebee's, smashed some chicken wings as you do. Then me and you sat down that night, and we were like, right, this is what you need to do. And I can't lie, I felt ill. I was thinking, there's no way I can do this. I've come all this way. I'm going to let him down. Getting a session plan, being given what I need to do, this, that, the other, all these games, Sharks and Minos. If anyone knows what Sharks and Minos is, I never, ever want to play a game ever again.
It kills me. It kills me that you pronounce it Minos every time. I remember all the other lads taking the piss out of you for it as well.
Oh, don't. To be fair, even tonight, I can't remember the actual saying from it. Sharks and Minos will do. It was just, that game, every kid wanted to play. But it was, I rocked up to a training session at Fort Lee, if I remember rightly. I was given about 15, 20 kids, and they all stared at me, and I had no idea what I was doing. Within a minute, I kind of had a brainstorm, looked around, I thought, right, let's get set up and get going. You know, the night went so smooth. I'll never take it for granted. It went so well, I can't believe it. People excited to be coming back to the next session, which I think was on the Wednesday. I was like, oh my God, smashed it. Got home, felt so relieved, such a weight off my shoulders. And then you were like, you can't repeat a session. I was like, what are you on about? And you turned around to me and was like, no, you can't repeat the session you've just done. I was like, no, don't lie to me. And so next minute, I'm having to learn all these other games and things to do, which now I think about, it was something really good to learn because it probably helped me improve as playing myself in that. Being there in the situation, my mind was actually blown. It was completely blown. There's so much more to football that I see now that I didn't see then. Yeah, I'm forever, like I said it before, I'm forever grateful for that opportunity I had.
Things must have been so, like I said, a whirlwind is the best description because you got there, you got the kit, you got the equipment, you hadn't done it before. Then you were given a car and say, yeah, you got to drive into New York, or Fort Lee is basically next to New York. And you'd never even driven in America before, so other side of the road. I wasn't there to help you. It's kind of everything happened so fast, and you must have been so far out of your comfort zone. And then to get through that first session, and the relief must have been so great.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the first day, me and you went to T-Mobile to set up my phone, so I had the same internet, Wi-Fi, Google Maps. I can't remember why. I think the first time I used it, the internet wouldn't work. So I've got maps and set the map up on my phone. Got in the car, drove off, got my phone out, put the maps on, maps crashed, closed the app like an idiot. Tried to get back on maps, no internet, no Wi-Fi, no idea where I am. I'm in the middle of New York, you're not there, no one's there. Had to pull over, run into a coffee shop, connect to the Wi-Fi. Everyone's looking at me like, who the hell is this guy? What is he doing? I'm just lost in the middle of New York. It's literally home alone, lost in New York because I'm clueless. No idea what I'm doing. Then finally getting there and getting to work and all these things that people say are so good about New York, and then experiencing for yourself, it was just amazing. The people over there act so differently to how people act over here, though. Just their lifestyles and the way they are. So to experience that from a first-person point of view, and not just being there for like a 2-week holiday, but being there to work and being there for being there for 3 months and that, it was quite an experience. And then I remember going to work one night, and this woman come over to me, and she had a son with her, and I'm like, oh yeah, Sam, yeah, don't worry, I'll take him to his group. And then I remember at the end of the night, the same kid come up to me, and I took the kid back to his mum. And then this lady, she took a child and got in a car and drove off. Then I remember one of the girls that was coached there coming up to me screaming. She was like, oh my God, do you know who that is? And I was like, no, who is it? Turns out it was Alicia Keys. I was like, hey? Alicia Keys, his kids were playing in the same soccer team that I was coaching. I was like, that was just a surreal experience because I had no clue who this was. Absolutely no idea. Obviously, we all know her songs and that, but for her to just be there so casually, wandering around, interacting with all the other parents and that, and then next minute, I'm going on over to her, like, just talking to her. I didn't even notice. And then I kind of thought about afterwards when she got into a bulletproof Range Rover that, yeah, she must be quite well off, rich or famous. And then I then got told it was Alicia Keys. I was like, no way. But then there was a couple of NFL players that I met that no idea who they are. I know how NFL works, but I don't know any of their players really. So there was plenty of high profile people, but to have them interact in such a free manner, it was nice to see them not being pestered in that, because a lot of people probably over here, if Alicia Keys was walking down the street or taking a kid to football, you're going to get hundreds of people running after them going, oh my God, sign this, sign that. So it was nice to see it in the perspective of they were just going about their daily life, normal routines.
Yeah, away from the cameras. What's interesting is because you're so far out of your comfort zone, I think that like like you said, being adaptable is definitely a skill that you would have gained in so much, like adaptability skills. But what other things do you think that you gained in that job that help you be the person you are today, even as your job as a plumber now? Is there anything that you learned or
Yeah,
gained when you were there?
yeah. Well, probably a lot of I had fairly good people skills and talking skills anyway. Like I can talk forever, and just having conversations with lots of different people from all different backgrounds and diversity, like within them, all different. Like you have one kid that's, I don't know. There was one kid I remember talking to him, and he would start crying. He was crying for about 10, 15 minutes. And it turns out that his mum and dad had left him when he was a kid, and he lived with his grandma, and that's what he was thinking about that day. So to be put in that situation where you have to adapt to then, comfort somebody to make sure they're okay, and then you got the kids that soccer was the best thing going, and then you have to talk to them, and they're dead hyperactive. I've seen you in the situation where you're trying to talk and kids don't shut up. So you have to learn how to present yourself with them, make sure they're listening when you're talking, make sure they understand what you want from them when you want it. So learning them sorts of things and being able to put them into practice, that's something I've learned that's been very helpful going forward. Learn how to talk to customers and help them out in, I don't know, deciding what things to have installed for their bathroom, have this bath, have this shower, have this, what I mean? All the different things that can go forward. Learn how to talk to people. It's helped me. Well, I've adapted it from technically using it in soccer to using it in my everyday life now.
Yeah, I think when people have children, they start to realize that life doesn't just revolve around that person. You got to consider other people's feelings and thoughts and perspectives. And I think that being a football coach or soccer coach, however you want to say it, for you and me, it's personal experiences. Is we don't have children yet. Hopefully, we do have children if you want them. But the point I'm trying to make is that when you're a coach, you learn that things are more important than just how you're feeling, how your thoughts are in this moment in time, where is you got to try and think of the bigger picture. And it sounds like when you're doing a job, maybe before you would go in there and say, this is getting done, this is how we're going to do it, whereas now you're kind of thinking about how the customer's going to experience the same thing. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Yeah. I mean, just having an all-round understanding of how they see it from their perspective, because I don't know, we're fitting a bathroom. It's quite a big thing. We're ripping out a whole entire room, and you were installing it to their how they want it. So being able to talk to them, understand it from their point of view, like you say, when you have kids in that, they see things differently. So then to be able to explain it in different manners works very well. With obviously you want these things doing, they can't be done for this reason, and then they obviously want to know why. So being able to understand why they can't be done and explain it to them in probably more of a simple practice, it works well.
So after America then, because you were only there for 3 months, I was planning on returning, and you were kind of stuck between, do you want to return or do you want to continue the plumbing route? And I know that it was a tough choice for you. You kind of split, and you had the opportunity to go back to America. My boss was happy to kind of re-employ you again. So what were your thoughts on because you almost like do you go left or do you go right? What was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was literally, do I fly the Atlantic and go to the left of the Atlantic, or do I stay on the right of the Atlantic? So literally left or right. Just before I came out to America, I know I said I was working with my dad, but I've just kind of started to branch out and go on my own and do my own little independent jobs here, there, and everywhere. So I'd like to my dad, I need to have like Thursday off to go and do this job for such and such a. So I kind of started going to work on my own. Went to America, had the break, come back, and then I thought, I'm back now. I'm going to go on my own again, see how it works. The time came where I had to say yes or no to America, but I just had too much work. I was doing too well with my own business, working by myself, doing all this work for all these different people. It was kind of a case of, if I didn't have that much work and that many contacts, I probably would have come back, but I couldn't just leave it because there was that much there, that much going off. I was earning good money for my age. Like I said, I just didn't want to leave what I was doing behind at that moment in time.
Yeah, the two things from my perspective in the situation, it seemed like the first one would be that when you came to America for 3 months, you recharged your batteries, which allowed you to be more energetic and more prepared and ready to continue what you were doing. And the other thing is that we touched on when we were talking about wages when you're 16 is that you saw at 16 that if you worked hard and get through the apprenticeship and stuff and get good at this, you can start earning bigger money. And that's at the point where you've done all those 4 years of work. And if you weren't to earn the big money, was it worth it? Was that something you maybe thought about as well?
To go from being on £20 a day, £30 a day at most, as a 16-year-old, to then go 20 and be on £100 a day, it was like wow, okay, now things get real. £100 a day is a good wage for an adult. So to be 20 and to be earning that, and then earning a bit more on top, bonuses and things, it was like, wow, I want like £500-600 a week at the age of 20. I don't want this to stop. The only thing it did then was probably motivate me more to have the hunger to want to earn more money and make something of myself, which now, years down the line, having a business that's so far successful, and it all stemmed from having the mentality of I'm going to better myself on what I do. As long as I keep doing what I'm doing, that's going to happen.
You're very young for someone who owns their own business. You know, people can hate on that kind of phrase of owning your own business, where you basically just do plumbing work, but it is only in your own business. You have people under you now. So you employed someone called Harry. Is that the first person that you had under you when you started your own business?
Yeah, well, I mean, I had a couple mates that I'd be like, oh, I need a lift on this day, or I need a hand this day. Can you give a hand? Rare. But that was just odd days. Then one day I had just a message on Facebook saying, oh, do you have any jobs going? At first, I can't lie, I thought, nah, no way, don't need him, don't need this, don't need that. And then over the couple of days of when I first got the message, it was a case of, hang on a minute, I've actually got a lot more work than I think here. And if I get another lad to come on board, I can make more money myself. I can make this lad money. I can help him out. He can work with me. And then he come with me one day. And then 2 years later, he was still working for me. So I'm grateful for the time we had together. He was an apprentice, put him through an apprenticeship, and now he's gone on his own. So it just shows that I was in his situation, witnessed someone else in the situation which I was in, and I thought, you know what, I'll give this lad a chance, gave him a chance, it worked, got him trained up, he's on his own, and now I've got 2 more apprentices.
Being in charge of anything, it's good when you've had the experience and you were once in the shoes of those people. Like with Sport in the Future, my charity, when we talk about, when I think about volunteers that are coming, I'm already thinking about what are they going to be asking, what kind of questions, how are they going to be feeling, what are they going to be nervous about, what they need reassurance about, because I was that person when I was 18, 17 years old. So I've already been through it. So the point I'm making is you were in Harry's shoes, you were in other people's shoes when they were apprentice and learning. So maybe you could create an environment and an experience that you wish you had maybe when you were their age.
Yeah, as you say, when I was their age, I went through a tough time, like early starts, late finishes, as you remember all the time. Me and you trying to make plans to, I don't know, even at night to go and watch Forest or something, on even on some like Tuesday night matches. I was still at work. I couldn't do it. I remember it was on about this the other day that I used to do some crazy hours and didn't get, for that age and doing them hours, it probably, I know we've spoke about money a little bit now, but it probably I didn't get the wage I deserved. But I always just saw I can be someone, I can get somewhere better, so I'm going to do it. Seeing this young lad who I'd never met before come along, and I just kind of thought, if you listen to what I've got to say, I'll share with you my experiences, and I'll do my best to get you through it to the stage of which I'm at now. So it was nice to see it now eventually pay off and see him on his own doing well and doing his own bits, to then motivate me to want to get 2 more apprentices, one of them is which maybe my best friend from growing up, and then we've got another one who's just left school. I want to implement it on them and get them to where they want to be and help them out and get everything they want to achieve in life. Hopefully it's going to be plumbing and running their own businesses too. The lad who I've got working for me, Odin, I'll leave him on jobs all day long by himself. So if we've got a couple jobs on that day, I'll go, right, you're here for the day. I'll pick you up at like 2-3 o'clock. Or like I say, if he's not needed to be left on his own, then we just go together. It works. So for the time being, I'm not going to change anything.
And then your other person that you work with is Molly, right?
We've got Molly, who's one of our good friends, Jack. It's his cousin. She left school, gave me a phone call, said I want to be a plumber. I kind of laughed it off because without being sexist or anything, plumbing is a heavily male populated trade. So to see someone that's 16, a female, come straight out of school and say, I want to be a plumber, it's like, okay, are you having a moment where you think this is what I want to do, and then within 6 months you don't want to do it? Or are you certain about your future? She's come along, she's cracked on, she enjoys it, she wants to be there, she wants to get done, and it's all she talks about. So I've got lots of faith in the fact she'll do well.
Yeah, I think it's ballsy of her. I admire her for joining a trade and following what she wants to do, not rather than what society told her to do. I think that's a good.
Definitely.
With being a plumber and in the trade, there's like call out. So, you know, making yourself available in antisocial hours. So have you had experience in that, and what's that like?
Don't get me wrong, some of them are really important. Then you get some that just aren't important one bit, that someone just thinks are important. So a broken boiler is something really important. You need to get out. People need heating, especially the elderly. With the times, obviously, with all coronavirus, things like that. Hot water and heating are quite essential. Things like, I don't know, my tap's dripping into my sink and getting a call at 3 o'clock in the morning, getting there to just witness a tap that's dripping that could have been sorted in the morning. That was really annoying. I think the worst shift I ever did, I left my house at 7 a.m. I left the job at about 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. We aimed to leave, we were leaving the job about 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. Something went wrong. Next minute, we didn't leave till 1. So this is 1 a.m. after leaving for work at 7 a.m. Gets halfway home, the gaffer turns around and says, should we go for something to eat, seeing as we're out this late? Next minute, we went for something to eat. By the time I got home, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, 3, half 3. That was an absolute grueler of a shift.
I know on jobs, you know, we spoke about earlier, making mistakes and people taking the piss out of you, and there's constant back and forth between like tradesmen with banter on the site. And I think it's like a great thing for like confidence and becoming witty and taking things on the chin. Like, I think it's important that you can do all of those things for everyone. And obviously we have a common friend, which is Mitchell, and he's like a builder who is from the army, and now he's working with his dad. And I know that you do work for his dad, and I know there's times where you've been on the job together. And I remember him telling me a great story about how when he was winding you up once, something about you getting injured without him even touching you. Did you want to explain that story?
It's not my greatest moment, but yeah. So I was on a job in Kosovo, and I can't lie, Mitchell's like Marmite, you either love him or you hate him. And just that day, I was just under a lot of stress and wanted to get done and go home, and he was just trying to wind me up all day. So we've got the same drills and DWALT drills, and he kept saying to me, oh, you got my drill. And I didn't have his drill. He was just pissing me off. So after him saying this about 20 times throughout the day, I went to I was drilling a hole, and I've just heard him come up behind me, and I thought, what does he want now? He went, that's my drill. So I've gone to turn around to him to F off. And as I've gone to turn around, I've like jarred my neck, gave myself whiplash. Had to have a couple of days off work because the whiplash was that bad. And then I had to go and have 2 sessions with a chiropractor, all just because I wanted to tell Mitchell to fuck off.
So coming to the end then, what would you say the best thing about being a plumber is, out of all the things?
Probably a lot of standing back and seeing what you've done and thinking how it's going to help and how it's changed things. And I don't know, simple things like when you fit a heating system for someone, knowing the fact that it works after them not having a fully working system for so long. Like, they've actually got heating and hot water that's hot, the heating works, the hot water works. Stepping back from a bathroom and thinking, wow, this bathroom looks really good, and the customer coming along going, it's blown their mind, like the standard of work we're able to do, and they really enjoy it. And then you've got the sides of like, we do a lot for quite a few disabled people. So turning a normal bathroom into a disabled functioning wet room for a kid that's got like MS and things like this, seeing their face and joy and enjoy the work we put into it and seeing it complete, and then them being able to use it, it gives you a lot of satisfaction.
It's one of few jobs where you actually make a direct impact to people's lives day to day. Everyone, when they're at home, is when they're themselves and the most comfortable. And if they haven't got heating, they haven't got hot water, they can't be comfortable. So you're making a big impact on them. And with your job then, if that's the best thing, what's the worst thing? What's the worst thing about being a plumber? Because you'd probably think something to do with toilets and all the disgusting things that come with it. What's the worst thing about being a plumber?
Oh, you can ask Odin this, right? Toilets aren't as bad as bath and sink wastes. Bath and sink waste with matted hair and stuff like that is a lot worse than dealing with people's shit. And I'll tell you that from first-hand experience.
To finish off then, the last two things I want to ask you. What's next for you in the next 5-10 years? Do you see yourself carrying on owning this business? Do you want to go and do this job somewhere else in the world? Do you want a different career path? Where do you see yourself in the next 5-10 years? Because it might change, but where do you see yourself right now?
Playing professional football. No, we all like to dream. No, I think for myself, it'll be me and Odin had this conversation the other day actually, because obviously he's an apprentice for me at the minute. It'll be either trying to sort of transition my company so it's a lot bigger and we employ a lot more people, or it'll be turning around to him and myself and saying, look, we'll go separate ways, you go work for a company, and then potentially, so it's either going to be running a company together, running a company on my own, but I can't lie, the next 5 or 10 years, I don't want to be working properly. I just want to be kind of running jobs, nipping in between them, just driving around the truck all day saying, right, let's get this done. Don't get me wrong, get my hands dirty when I need to, but kind of probably taking a step back from the tools and running things, hopefully.
And the last thing I wanted to touch on is, so yeah, any advice to finish off with that you have for people in the working world?
Time at the minute is really tough. Money-wise, I always remember this man once turned around to me, says, stick with the rule of 3 and you'll be fine. And the rule of 3 is save a third, spend a third, and then use a third towards your bills. And I kind of didn't get it at first, but I think as cliche as the rule sounds, it's actually helped me a lot. So it's a case of, I don't know, only like, say, £300-400 a week and saving 100, putting 100 into your bank for the bills and then having 100 to spend in that week. Because you can very quickly go, oh, I've got £300 this week, I'm going to spend it. And then the next week, you know, you get to like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you've got no money left because you spent it all. Just to be probably wiser with money and things like this. I'd have done a few different things different when I was younger, like the way I used to, I don't know, go to Mackey's all the time with yourself. And I didn't need to go and have a cheeseburger, just have my dinner. But that £1 cheeseburger at the time was a good idea. But now I think back, like, there's a lot of things I'd change about the way I did what I did with money myself.
Yeah, I mean, the money thing is a good thing. I think it's difficult to obtain financial intelligence in regards to how much to spend on that when you're younger. Almost you need to have that phase of wasting money on cheeseburgers and expensive clothes to realize when you're older what's more important to spend your money on. But I think that's definitely a good way to finish it. And I think it's been interesting to get an insight to what being a plumber is like, to grow up as Ryan Hoult and what it's like to work and where your future is going to go. So thanks for giving me your time and being part of episode 4. And hopefully we get through coronavirus and things are going to quickly open up again and you can get back to playing football.
No, thank you for giving me the opportunity to have a little chat. I mean, I could talk all day about what plumbing's got, kind of what there is to do with plumbing, but from my perspective and how I saw things and the way I've done things, that's just probably how it is.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, and I'll hopefully see you again soon.
I'll see you soon, mate. Cheers.